I should get a glass of water. I know I have
You don't mess around.
Where's my Irish soda? I want it. I love it. He loves it. He loves Irish soda. See? The Italians don't have these yards. It's that Nordic thing we got going on. Everybody's good at it. You too, right?
Oh, is he on
Sanjeev is there.
oh, terrific. Half a world away.
There you go. Sanjeev, is he? Yeah, he's right there.
Oh, he's not coming in tonight.
Hi, Sanjeev.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, Sanjeev.
Hey, Sanjeev.
Hello, greetings from Mumbai, India.
Yeah. Okay. All right. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, be advised that a notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board in Town Hall and electronically forwarding to the officially designated newspapers that this meeting would take place at Town Hall and remotely at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. Meeting details and the draft agenda were also posted on our township website. Please all stand to salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So if it's okay with the committee, I'd like to present this proclamation. Absolutely. So would the family of Robbie Omlin please stand, or whoever is here, if you'd like to stand. Whereas on March 10th, 2003, Robert Eric Almgren III, Robbie, was born and came to reside in his home in our beautiful township of Millburn, New Jersey. And whereas Robbie spent his days with his group of neighborhood friends, forming an inseparable and eternal bond, together they would create the beautiful tapestry of their childhood picture together. Robbie grew from a beautiful and happy child into a handsome, successful, humble, and kind 17-year-old before succumbing to sudden illness on December 27th, 2020. And whereas during his life, Robbie was an accomplished student, a celebrated athlete, and an inherently devoted son, grandson, and friend. Robbie was an example for so many in school as well as on and off the athletic field. And whereas Robbie was a gifted athlete and excelled at every sport he endeavored, throughout all of his successes, Robbie exhibited extraordinary humility and kindness, consistently placing the interests of the others in his life in a position of paramount importance and priority. His general practice was to lend a hand and or an ear to every friend or teammate which to him might have exhibited the need for such attention. The impact of his genuine and kind character remains self-evident in the universal love and admiration which those in his life consistently felt toward him in every setting and continue to feel for him still. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Millburn Township Mayor Tara Prupus, in the County of Essex, State of New Jersey, on behalf of the Township Committee and on behalf of her fellow township residents, proclaim March 10th, 2021 as Robbie Almgren Day, the Day of the Gentleman Athlete, in order to recognize him for the exceptional example he set for others and to make it possible that this influence, which he had on so many, may carry forward to have a new and positive influence and impact on the children of the Township of Millburn and surrounding communities for many years to come. So I'd like to give this to Robert. I'm going to go take my seat, and then you're going to come say a few words, and anybody else who would like to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm going to read. This was prepared by Robbie's mother, who unfortunately could not be here tonight, as she is quarantining another school district, as a couple positive cases, so could not join us tonight and is quarantining at home. On behalf of the entire Almgren family and Robbie's grandmother, Grandma Jackie O'Donnell, we thank you. Thank you for commemorating Robbie's life in this way. We have been overwhelmed by the love and support that we have received from the Millburn Short Hills community the last few months and the Millburn School District. Again, written in the mother's prose. I have said this before, we realize that our loss is not our loss alone. So many people loved Robbie. He touched more lives than we knew, as we were made apparent to us in the many notes and letters that we have received since his passing. The story shared by most of his friends that are here with us today, classmates, parents, coaches, and others have warmed our hearts and given us strength and comfort. I am not sure what Robbie would think about all this fanfare. He was humble and discouraged compliments even from his mother. Robbie was a good student, an athlete, and had many talents. But most importantly, he was kind, he was empathetic, and he was a gentleman. So one thing from when he could first speak till most recently, I always told him, you should always be a gentleman. Nobody remembers who won a game, lost a game, what the box score was. They remember your character. They remember how you are on the field. We want to thank you all for helping keep Robbie's name and memory alive from this day forward. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else want to say anything?
I have two masks, so you want to hear me?
Double.
Every once in a while, someone comes along in your life, and you know they're special. You just know. Robbie was one of those people, and his effect was really self-evident on everybody. Everybody felt the same way, and it's no coincidence when you know Bob and Laura and Jackie. It's no coincidence where all these beautiful characteristics came from. So I'd like to thank them for sharing him with us all these years. I'd like to thank the township for doing this, and I must say that they were so enthusiastic. The mayor, Ms. Purpose, was so enthusiastic and so willing to do this and to be involved in this, that it was truly gracious, and it was a testament to the community and you as the mayor of the community. And I wanted to thank you for that, for making this possible for us all, to keep Robbie's influence right where it was and to keep it here alive for a very long time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. So Christine, we're gonna take a roll. Yes, we're gonna go back and do roll call. Okay. We're gonna take a 5-minute break. If you would like to leave the room, you can leave the room. If you'd like to stay, you can stay. So we'll take a 5-minute break.
Yeah, great job. Thank you. See your boys outside.
It'll start, April 1st.
Thank you, everybody.
I can see. Maybe, you know what, Alex? Maybe move it closer.
Okay. Christine, can you hear, are you good? Oh, there you go. Okay, a roll call. We cannot.
We have somebody young in the room to take care of it.
Jesse? No, we're sorry. We're just saying we're here. We're glad.
Mayor Purvis, I'm ready when you are. Thank you.
Our IT skills. We're ready.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Great.
We're ready.
Thank you. Miss Meggins?
Here.
Miss Ball Eglo?
Here.
Mr. Wasserman?
Here?
Mr. Vinayak?
Here.
Mayor Purvis?
Here.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is great. Any opposed? No. All right. Good evening, Millburn Township. On March 3rd, a working group of the Rahway Rivers Mayor's Council met with the Essex County officials to present the consensus plan. We are now awaiting a letter of approval from our county executive. On Tuesday, March 2nd, we had our second virtual workshop for the Downtown Vision Plan. Over 215 people registered for the meeting and approximately 145 people participated. Draft concepts were presented. The video of this workshop is on YouTube and can be found on the Downtown Area Vision Plan webpage. Multiple emails have been sent from the township providing information about the interactive map, which was closed down yesterday, and the second virtual workshop, a follow-up email went out to all the registrants as well. Our next steering committee meeting with Perkins Eastman is scheduled for Thursday, March 11th, where we will debrief from the engagement tools and confirm recommendations. The Perkins Eastman team will present their plan to the Township Committee on March 23rd. On March 11th, the Senior Citizen Advisory Board had its first meeting of 2021. Virtual programming is well on its way, and Jamie Hawkins, our Senior Citizen Coordinator, is doing an incredible job at keeping everyone connected and safe during the pandemic. The next meeting is Thursday, June 3rd. Yesterday, Deputy Mayor Wasserman, former Mayor Lieberberg, Managing Director of the Paper Mill Playhouse, Michael Stotts, and resident Lori Reisman, and myself met to discuss cultural programming at the Bauer Center, and there's more to come on that. The Art Advisory Committee is tentatively scheduled to meet on March 17th, and the next Environmental Commission meeting is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. That is my report. Committeewoman Eglo, would you like to report?
No reports.
Committeewoman Miggins.
As you know, I'm the liaison to the Historic Preservation Committee, and they did meet this week, and it seemed they approved 2 applications, and it was very smooth and easy.
Great.
Yeah, I thought so.
Sounds good.
Do you want to see if Sanjay-
Sure. Ms. Committeeman Vinyayak, would you like to report?
Sure. Our business administrator, Alex, and all his team has done a fantastic job in coming up with the township public-facing KPIs, which he'll start sharing every month. I'll let Alex talk when his turn comes in or whenever he's ready to share that. But we are going to be sharing 5 KPIs with the public. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. And Deputy Mayor Wasserman.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I have a bit of a longer report tonight, so just bear with me. Like what Committeeman Vinayak was just mentioning, we've been meeting, Committeeman Vinayak and I have been meeting weekly with Mr. McDonald and Mr. Gabloff at the Finance Committee. We're reviewing expenditures, we're keeping an eye on overtime, and I just think that people should know that we're really watching. We're really watching our expenditures really on a weekly basis. Coincidentally, I also want to bring attention that there was a report this week on the internet from Samantha Marcus of NewJersey.com. She wrote this week that Millburn Short Hills is one of 30 New Jersey towns whose residents enjoyed the biggest property tax cuts in New Jersey for 2020. Specifically, we are number 11 out of 30. I know this trend will continue as we move forward with a careful eye on our expenditures. But this was on the internet, and I always like to highlight good news. So this is also for Committeeman Vinayak. I don't know if you could see it in Mumbai, but it's really good news. Anyway, I also want to highlight and thank people in the township who are supporting our food pantry. Right now, the township is supporting about 10 families who some of them have children, and the food pantry is helping these families. And there are a number of residents who selflessly are shopping for our pantry, are going out of their way to make sure that there's food in our pantry, to help these families. So I just want to thank them, and it's really a tremendous thing that's happening quietly. So I think we all appreciate it. In addition to that, I also want to report on Explore Millburn. I want to report that Explore Millburn Short Hills has been on the move this past month. Our committed board of volunteers has been working tirelessly on a full plate of plans and events for our township. With the assistance of Chair Michael Parlavecchio and some of our committee members, Millburn's flag was able to obtain a New Jersey Sustain and Serve grant for $200,000, which will benefit over 20 Millburn restaurants. This was the first large grant that Explore Millburn was able to assist to bring into to a local community organization. And of course, Flag's purchasing of local meals goes on to feed our frontline heroes. The Marketing and Events Committee has been hard at work planning an exciting calendar of programming which will include all 5 districts and bring many of our neighbors and friends together and into our local businesses. We have a Spring into Millburn Short Hills. It's a gem. Containers of gems will be distributed across various business districts, and each visitor can guess the number in the container. The winners will receive a $25 gift card from the host merchant, and the winners will also be entered into a grand prize category. One of our local merchants will be giving a gift card of $100, $75, $50. Social media for both merchants and Explorer Millburn Short Hills will actively engage in driving participation. We also have a Mother's Day event planned for Saturday, May 8th in downtown Taylor Park for the kickoff, and then we have other dates for the other districts. Explore Millburn Short Hills has also been working closely with HPC Chair Allison Canfield on a proposal for adding lighting and trees on Upper and Lower Millburn Avenue. We'll have a visual presentation and a cost estimate in the near future. This past Saturday, Committeewoman Miggins, HPC Chair Canfield, and I toured through those districts. This past week, Explore Millburn Short Hills published its March newsletter for local property owners and businesses. This was very well received, along with regular social media posts from its marketing professional, Marla Itzkin. Marla and the board are working closely with New Frontier, a local advertising company, on creating a responsive website which will feature a searchable directory for all of our merchants and businesses and restaurants in our town, and will be a local hub for local information. And finally, I do want to report that our new executive director, Ryan Gleason, has decided to step down from his position by May 1st. In a nutshell, he's decided to take his career in a different direction, which he thinks would be best for himself and his family. We only wish Ryan the very best. Former Mayor Jackie Lieberberg and myself and board members have already started working on identifying a new director who we will hope to have in place before Ryan's departure.
Got it.
And that's my report.
Okay. Mr. McDonald, do you have some reports for us?
I do, Mayor. Let me get the mic here. So first and foremost, I wanted to report on something that's been occurring in particular in the South Mountain area of town. However, I know that it's been witnessed or felt in other areas of the town, which is a strong foul odor, sometimes at night. I want the community to know that we have been, for several weeks, actively investigating the source of this odor, although certainly the source of odors are very hard to pinpoint. But the Millburn Fire Department has been doing a nice job of getting out and attempting to investigate and look into things. Just so the community knows, we have notified the DEP. We've spoken to Nutley Hazmat. This does not seem to be anything. This is not anything dangerous or chemical. It may be something more organic and natural in terms of the foul smell. However, we have not yet been able to pinpoint it. It has also not occurred in the last few days, but The Millburn Fire Department is on top of this and looking into it as those reports come in. So we just encourage everybody to call the non-emergency number 7001 if they do experience that foul odor, so that we can get out there and try to pinpoint it. The second thing I wanted to bring up is for our business communities. Actually, the second and third thing are for our business communities. The first thing is about sidewalk cafes. The weather's starting to get nice. The sidewalk cafe license has been approved by the township committee to be those fees are waived. However, we still do need applications from those businesses that plan on putting tables and chairs out so that we can get the proper insurance, have a schematic of where your tables and chairs are going to be. I believe that these were dropped off at the businesses. If not, these are available on the township's website. And we're happy to get these processed as quickly as possible to get everybody out there dining in the nice weather. With that, we also, I just have a brief update on the parklets in which we continue to work on. We're putting together a spec sheet for our businesses. And now not everybody's going to be able to see this, but I'm just going to show this to the committee. But this is sort of like an idea of how we would look at these parklets going together in parking spaces. We make it very simple in businesses that are interested. So far, we do have 2 businesses that are interested in having a parklet and creating this nice, vibrant outdoor space and a parking space safely for restaurants to utilize. I think we'll, again, just draw attention to other areas of the town that want to utilize some of these tools that we're putting forward. And so the plan of action at this point, just so that everybody understands, is to get these specs solidified. This will also be reported at Thursday night's SID board meeting, as well as then contact those individuals that are interested. So again, I hope that there's others that express their interest early next week. And then there are going to be 2 resolutions that need to be approved by the Township Committee at the March 23rd meeting. Other than that, those are my reports.
Great, thank you. Mr. Falcon?
Yes, thank you. I have a brief report. I'll speak up. Judge Gardner, you know.
Yes, you do.
Better. Judge Gardner convened a case management conference in connection with the ongoing mediation of the declaratory judgment action that the township has brought in connection with affordable housing. There had been a delay in the frequency of mediations due to the fact that the special master and the representative of the Fair Share Housing Center were diverted to other matters involving affordable housing and other cases. But we're back on the track. The parties are exchanging information and documents, and I wanted to report also that as a result of the case management conference, Judge Gardner has extended the township's immunity to April 30th. We will have another case management conference as that date approaches so that the judge can be informed as to what progress has been made. Thank you.
Sorry, Mayor. Just one additional item. Just wanted to let the community know that we are going to start enforcing recycling. We've ran into a lot of contamination in the recycling loads, which is when people put plastic bags or other materials that are not otherwise recyclable. Encourage everybody to go to the website. Under the Public Works Department, we have Recycle Coach available to our residents through smartphone application. Tells you what's able to be recycled, how it's able to be recycled. Just use these tools so that we're compliant in our recycling. Contaminated recycling not only is not great for the environment, but it also costs the township additional funds when we recycle. And so just want to let everybody know that enforcement is going to start both by the contractor as well as the township itself, making sure we're tagging people, giving them a warning, but they will leave your recycling at the curb. So don't be surprised if your recycling is left at the curb.
Right, and you sent out, the townships, we sent out a SWIFT
We did, yes.
email
Yep.
about that. Okay, great. Okay, so on March 3rd, I went to Opportunity Project and read, well, I didn't, it was a virtual meeting, and read the proclamation for Brain Injury Awareness Month. And so we're just going to read it here as well. Whereas over 1.5 million people in the United States sustain a traumatic brain injury each year, and whereas brain injury is a leading cause of death and disability in America's children and adults ages 1 to 44 years old, devastating families emotionally and financially, and whereas the most common cause of brain injury are motor vehicle collisions, simple falls, and blunt force trauma, and whereas the only cure for brain injury is prevention through public awareness and education, and whereas Opportunity Project is helping to educate the community through the dissemination and display of brain injury information and the hosting of local events. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township of Millburn Committee, on behalf of the residents of Millburn Township Committee, does hereby proclaim the month of March 2021 as Brain Injury Awareness Month in the Township of Millburn, and encourage all citizens to support and learn more about the effects of brain injury. And Opportunity Project is doing programming, virtual programming, events, and raising funds throughout the month, so you can see their website to learn more. Okay, next is we have Mark Robeson, who is here to talk about the Millburn Creative Collective. He's going to give a presentation. Mark, would you like to come introduce yourself and present to the committee?
Thank you, Mayor Prupus, committee. My name's Mark Robison. I am the chairperson of the Millburn Creative Collective. If you want to advance that, please. As a brief executive summary, what I'm going to be talking about tonight is the Millburn Creative Collective. It is a subcommittee of the Millburn Township Green Team, and it promotes creative culture and overall sustainability in Millburn Township. The MCC, as I'll refer to it in a bit of a shorthand, proposes a website to promote the creative people, places, events, and businesses in Millburn Township. Content will be managed by volunteers that are presently on the MCC committee, and the total cost associated with web hosting that we're looking for funding for would be $435 annually. As I mentioned, the subcommittee of the Millburn, this is a subcommittee of the Millburn Township Green Team. It was created to promote and carry on Sustainable Jersey's 5 arts and culture actions. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Sustainable Jersey is the body that basically informs the points-based volunteer system that is the green teams that are adopted across New Jersey. The mission statement that we've adopted for ourselves is Millburn Creative Collective celebrates, encourages, and actively promotes social connections, community collaboration, and cooperative programming that fosters artistic vibrancy, cultural diversity, economic health, and environmental well-being. More than a committee, the MCC aims ultimately to be an association of creative class individuals and businesses who participate in ongoing events and initiatives that really start to position Millburn Township as a known destination for creative-minded activities. This requires a particular Sustainable Jersey action that's called creative placemaking. We're presently conducting a creative assets inventory, really taking a look at everything that Millburn already possesses and trying to see what elevates to the top and what do we want to really celebrate about Millburn and basically perform this action. In order to do that then, one of the Sustainable Jersey recommendations is creating a dedicated website that helps, place greater visibility for the creative people and places in Millburn. And other townships have done this. They formed their own creative teams and then created engagement through a web presence. 2 of the best-in-class examples are Maplewood and Madison. I've included the URLs here, so I encourage you to check these out. They're really fantastic, and they do a great job of celebrating those places and the people within them. We've looked at these and other examples and highlighted the content strategy that we feel would be appropriate for such a website would be to create an events calendar, a local artist spotlight, local creative artists and business directory, as well as classic kind of elements like about and contact information. What's going to follow in the next few slides are just a quick template of what this could look like. So we've already kind of done this exercise. The content hasn't been filled in. If this is funded, of course, we would flesh this out and really write and bring this to life. A splash page would change out seasonally so that we continue to draw content or users to the site, month over month. So we, at least seasonally, would be changing out this content. As you scroll down on that page, there would be editorial content that the members of the MCC have volunteered to create. So this would highlight different events and or people in town. The site navigation, as you might imagine, are these elements: event, spotlight, directory, about, and contact. What we imagine on the next page would be an events calendar. Very much we imagine this site to kind of be an umbrella kind of hub that would be able to serve other committees in town. So whether that's CETA or Arts Advisory Committee or Explore Millburn, whoever has content that they would want to list here, basically our members would moderate that. So you would simply ask to have your event listed and we would be happy to put it on there if it is appropriately creative. So I think we'll just have to have a threshold for that, but I think we do want to make sure that it's broad, but it still serves this mission. Finally, maybe not finally, but close to the end here, local spotlight. Each month, and that's the cadence we're really looking for right now, we would find a hidden gem within Millburn. So an individual, whether that's a piano teacher or a painter or a sculptor or a chef. So we would highlight that individual, do a short profile on them, and hopefully then promote those through other social media channels as well. Finally, creative directory. This is something that Maplewood's done quite well. They have a very robust creative directory. It allows people to self-list, and again, we moderate. So once we take a look and make sure that it meets our requirements, then we release that into the directory. It's searchable. It has categories. This is an off-the-shelf solution that plugs into the existing website, and that's itemized in the funding at the end as well. Finally, about and contact. This is just basically, what everyone's familiar with, but this presents an opportunity for other township residents to basically reach out to us, to communicate with us, and hopefully maybe even volunteer their time as part of the MCC. Finally, the costs. Domain name, $20 a year. A Squarespace business account is $216 a year. A community box account, that is the directory service, would be $119 a year. And the total funding required for this, as I mentioned, is $435 annually. So closing comments, we really are excited about this idea. We think it would really celebrate the creative people, places, and events in Millburn. We believe that it can serve as a hub for other creatively aligned township committees and organizations. And if funded, what we'd really like to do is get this up and operating quickly, particularly as people spill out of their homes, and hopefully we're looking towards a post-COVID-ish sort of environment. We want to support businesses and individuals and events that are starting to be programmed around town in that time frame. So late spring is kind of the time frame if we were to be funded relatively quickly. So thank you very much. I'm open to any questions.
That was great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Does anyone on the committee have any questions?
I just want to say welcome, thank you. I had a chance to talk to Renee in depth about this, and I really had no idea what it was when I started on the agenda, so she really filled me in. I think it's a fabulous idea, and she said how hard you have been working, how much time you've put in, and you've found volunteers, so I am very, very impressed, and I wish you a lot of luck with this. I think it could really help Millburn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated.
So for the $500 that you need, I mean, do we have to just say we'll do it?
Does
or
this
is that...
come from the green team, or how do we fund this?
I think if the committee supportive, we'll take care of it.
Great. I'm supportive of it.
I'm supportive of it.
I'm supportive of it.
Sounds good to me.
Committeeman Vinyayak.
In support as well.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. So excited. Can't wait to see it.
Let's get
Excellent.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much,
Let's
Mayor.
get started.
Township.
Done.
Okay, the committee will now consider consent agenda resolutions. Are there any comments from the committee in regards to any items listed on the consent agenda?
Can I just ask for clarification on how we're changing or updating Barton Ross's agreement?
Yes. Yes, please.
Barton Ross's agreement is being amended to include the proposal for all three proposals that were presented by the chair of the HPC, Allison Canfield, at the last meeting. So the first was $25,000 for designation of certain parts of Short Hills Village. The second was the master plan element for historic preservation, and the third was to do a survey, historic survey of the downtown area.
So does that change Mr. Ross's billables to us on top of what the money we've approved?
Yes. So the initial contract was a not to exceed of $50,000. This is extending that to a not to exceed of $125,000.
Wait. You went from 15,000?
50.
Oh, 50.
50.
So
yeah.
it's been tripled?
It's including the three proposals that were brought forth at the township committee previously, in the total of $75,000. So his general work with the HPC to support the Historic Preservation Commission as a consultant was a not to exceed professional contract of $50,000. This additional $75,000 is for those three items that were presented to the township committee previously by the Historic Preservation Chair.
Wait. So those three items that we approved was Mr. Ross's fees to get them done, or?
Correct.
Okay, and we're assuming we're going to get 50,000 back from the grant? He's going to be writing up the grant proposals?
The direction that this is currently going may have impact on some of those grants.
So right now, it's not to exceed 50,000, and then it's going to go to not to exceed 150,000?
125.
125, okay, too many numbers flying out here. So what happens next year after those three items are complete? Does his contract stay at that new rate, or would that be reevaluated?
No, I think these are projects in addition to what his normal functions are, which is why the professional service contract is being amended to include those services. And so next year he would be again a consultant, assuming that, when we go out to, if we go out to RFP or you respond to the RFP, that he would be again a consultant of the Historic Preservation Board.
Okay, so not to beat a horse, I just want to be clear. When we approved those three line items for Ms. Canfield, I didn't know that this Barton Ross's fees were inclusive in that. Like, I don't think that was part of the presentation, so I just really want to make it clear what we're spending on. Like, I just don't understand. I just make, for me and anybody else who might not be able to ask.
So this is for Barton Ross and his firm to complete the work that was described by Ms. Canfield at the previous township committee meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Public comment is a period of time for you to state your comments. It is not a dialogue between the public and the township committee. Our contact information is available on the township website, and you're welcome to contact us directly. When you are ready to speak, please come to the microphone and state your name and address. At 2.5 minutes, you will hear the buzzer and will have 30 seconds to wrap up your comments. When the second buzzer goes off at the full 3 minutes, your allotted time is over. It is with consensus from the Township Committee that we will strictly adhere to the 3-minute time limit for public comments. No person is permitted to yield his or her time to another speaker. Okay, and let us all remember that we are neighbors and we are here because we love our town. Are there any comments from the committee in regards to any of the, we did that? Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on a consent agenda resolution item? And if you're attending remotely, please press *6 if calling in by phone, or raise a hand button on the screen.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Feld. I live at 11 Alexander Lane, Short Hills, New Jersey. Prior to this meeting, I sent the committee and various other public officials a heads-up memo. I, too, am watching the expenditures of this community. The first I would like to talk about is Resolution 21-082. I don't know if the public realizes that the resolution was amended from how it originally was filed, that there's now an availability of fund certification that shows that it won't be funded until the budget for the town is approved, and there's also a retention cap in the certification. The real question is, why isn't that retention cap inside the body of the resolution? And the resolution refers to letters. I believe the public should have, those letters should be attached to the resolution so we understand what the monies are going to. Because I think there is a little confusion how we got to this amount of $125,000. As to the bill list, I am happy that we're starting to get a little more transparency, but I wrote down various checks, and from the bill list, we don't know what the monies are really being expended for. For example, about $287,000 was being paid to Morris County Municipal. I don't know if that's for collective purchases or the JIF, but the public should know what we're getting the monies. As to the regular bill list, there's at least 3 engineering and environmental firms, each getting in excess of $10,000. One's getting $19,000, the other one $31,000, $12,000. I think the public should know what they're doing generally services. Are they doing, what type of environmental work are they doing? So also William Guarini Inc., I don't know what they are, but they're getting $36,000. I don't know if they collect garbage or something, but I think the public should have a line item understanding what those amounts are. There was also a breakout for the first time where there's 2 payments on a page, and I call it the Downtown Vision Plan, where there's a payment of $103,000 to Perkins Eastman, but there's also D.S. Meyer Enterprise LLC for $31,000. I don't know what D.S. Meyer Enterprise has performed services for in connection with the Downtown Vision Plan. When we go back to September, it was my understanding that this was an all-inclusive package from Perkins Eastman, and I don't know if D.C. Meyer is included or not included. I don't know, because that's the way it was presented in September. As to the fair share housing in my letter, I have a question. As last meeting I said, if there's some questions as certain professionals, that even though they're entitled to payment, the money should be escrowed. One of the things that's been developing is about conflicts of interest. And there's a question whether our planning board attorney, who is also our special fair share housing counsel, has a conflict of interest, and whether his money should be escrowed. That's something that we'll be talking about later tonight.
Thank
but
you,
also,
Mr. Feld. Mr. Feld, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Feld.
Can I have answers to my questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feld. Is there anybody else that would like to, and let's please be very respectful of the time that we have all agreed to. Thank you.
Jean Pasternak, 342 Hobart Avenue. I concur with all the questions that Mr. Feld has just asked. I had several of those myself. I have an additional one. I remember that we were not allowed to spend money on food when we were on the school board, so I'm just wondering what that amount, I think it was a deli where there was a food item, so I just wonder what the policy is regarding spending food, money on food. The other question I have is I too am very confused by how we went from 25,000 a couple meetings ago with the Historic Preservation Commission to 125,000. I still don't really get it, and I think it would be helpful too to have those resolutions for us to look at and be able to refer to. The other question I'm asking is it, when there is a question on a line item, is it possible to carve that out so that everything else can be approved except that one item, and that could then be reviewed and then put on the next bill list? The other thing is, it is helpful, I think, to have things grouped so that we can see what relates to what, the downtown vision versus whatever else, other litigation, et cetera. I think we should definitely endeavor to make things more clear to the public, and it is great to have the bill list. Thank you. Let's see. Question, before an item is included on the bill list, who reviews and approves the payment requisition? How many different traffic engineers and environmental consultants has Millburn retained in 20 and 21? Was Perkins Eastman granted the opportunity to modify and amend the downtown vision plan proposals? And who ultimately recommended Perkins Eastman to the entire township committee for approval? Let's see, a couple more. Who drafted the 18, 19, 20, and 21 professional retention agreements that have been, present in these bill lists for payment? Why has Millburn agreed to a closed alternative dispute resolution forum and not an open public court venue in its retention agreements? Who monitors and assesses the work product of retained professionals in these agreements? Let's see, I think I've covered them all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pasternak. Are there any other questions on the consent agenda items?
Yeah.
Great. Ms. Stone?
Nancy Tara, stop with the shenanigans. I want to talk about the bills list and want to defer to Jean and Jeff with these line items for the 25 to 50,000 to 125. It's unbelievable how we got here and don't understand. I thought the money was going directly to Allison and her organization. I also want to say I don't understand why, because I can't see now the clock, so I don't understand what happens here. Is there a way that I'm able to see what's going on here, because you're blacked out? But anyway, with that said, I want the 125 explained, because I was under the impression that 50,000 was going to be in a grant, and apparently Alex tippy-toed around. We're not getting the grant. Are we getting the grant? Sounds like BS to me, but apparently it was a sneaky way of getting an extra 50,000, or actually an extra 75,000. So I want that explained and clearly detailed. I want to also applaud Ryan Gleason for being the smartest guy in the room, for leaving and understanding that he had better opportunities elsewhere than here in Millburn, because certainly the business community was not welcoming of the SID, and the property owners were not welcoming of it. So I want to applaud him for his courage to bag out, and I want to warn anybody else who decides to come in to beware of taking a job, and I hope that Millburn's not exposed to a lawsuit for deceiving this young man and reeling him into something that shouldn't have been started from the get-go. The third thing I want to discuss is, these bills and these amounts of money's going out, because what's happening is you appropriated 189,000. We've already spent 103,000. So how much left? It looks like we're going towards another Complete Streets project here with a huge, huge bond coming down the pike, and we haven't even paid off the last one. So I don't know how much I have left, because I can't see the damn clock. And it's just very, very annoying that here we are and have to wait for you to say, thank you, Ms. Stone.
Ms. Stone, you have 27.6 seconds.
Well, yeah, now it's up there. So I have 27 seconds, and I should be able to see the clock. So, and I thank you for pointing the clock towards us. But this SID director, beware, don't take the job. It's a dead-end position, because the SID is going to be gone. I'll yield my time to the space.
All right. The space. Thank you, Ms. Stone. Is there anybody else that would like to make any public comments on the consent agenda items?
Mayor Prupus, can I ask Mr. McDonald to answer some of those questions?
For 1 second.
Oh, okay.
Let's just
Sorry.
close off public comment.
Okay.
Right? There's no more questions? Okay. Are there any members of the committee that would like to clarify or ask any questions or respond to any of the comments during consent agenda items?
Okay, so we get a lot of these emails from, a couple of residents. So if Alex could take this opportunity, I saw you were making notes when Mr. Feld was answering questions. If we could just clear those up, that would just probably save us a lot of future headaches.
I can
I
answer.
have a similar comment. There are a lot of questions being asked, but there are some direct answers that we can provide, and some takes longer time and longer analysis. But whatever direct answers that we can give, it'll be better if we can give it to them, please.
Sure. I will answer those questions that I am able to at this time. As far as the bills list goes and the supposition that D.S. Myers has something to do with the downtown vision plan, you're in that bills list that the public receives, that is just actual capital money. It is not particularly tied to a project like the vision plan. D.S. Myers was a project that was completed on Oak Lawn, and it was a drainage project. It has nothing to do with the downtown vision plan. Those companies that you may see, such as TRC, Colliers, those engineering firms, TRC is involved in the long-term mitigation of environmental impact to Lot 1, which was a former Exxon station. Colliers is the new name for Mazer Consulting. Food purchases are allowed within the township under the in a state of emergency for those workers that are here for up to 12 hours at a time. The purchasing process is reviewed first by the department head, who authorizes the purchase, the CFO, who does the second approval, the administrator, who does the third approval, and then again by the township committee by approving the bills list at this meeting. As far as the other questions that were raised, I'd be happy to answer those at a later time and be able to add some clarification in particular to more specific items that were on the bills list. But those are the answers that I can give right now.
Great. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Does any other committee members have anything they'd like to respond to in terms of the consent agenda?
With the historic preservation piece of this, Alex, just to be clear, if the 3 items that were presented by HPC Chair last week were not part of the Barton amount, consistently he's received was $37,000, I think, and it's been raised to $50,000 to consult with the HPC, and he does it with any of the people that come forward with the HPC. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Barton's position is a consultant to the HPC board to review applications, to assist applicants, to answer questions, and various other items when it comes to that board. And traditionally, yes, it was in the ballpark of anywhere between $35,000 and $40,000 that he received as a result of being a consultant.
Okay, and just last year, I think he went from 15 consultations up to about 85, is what I'm told. Okay, so, and then in addition to that, those 3 separate projects are where the money changes. So why it went from the one number to the larger number was he's working on 3 projects in addition to his consultation that he does with the HPC. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question also? I was talking to the HPC chair. His hourly fee hasn't changed, right? I mean, he's providing those services for all these contracts at a stated amount.
Yeah, it has to stay within the proposed amount, which is $75 an hour.
So for $75, you're getting a real professional working on this, which I think is, pretty reasonable from where I see it.
So, okay, so you answered the hourly question. So, I was going to ask you the last thing. So when Allison Canfield gave us those 3 line items, $25,000, the parcel house, the Hessian house, and the historic area, those dollar figures were specifically meant to pay Mr. Barton Ross? Because I don't think I had understood that. I didn't know that was it. I didn't know where the money was going, but now that money's going directly to Mr. Ross?
That's correct.
Okay, was that in the presentation, that we knew that I don't know where I thought it was going. I thought it was going to a society to do this.
He's doing the work to get all that designated. He's doing the work of the downtown survey. He's doing the work of the master plan element.
Which hasn't been done since 1999.
No, I get it. So what I'm going to ask, Mayor, is that since I'm not fully understanding, and this is township money, I'm going to ask to just do that line item separately so I can just abstain on it. Because I don't want to vote on something I don't really have a grasp on, if that would be okay with you and the
Okay,
committee.
so Christine? Can you?
Yes.
We're gonna pull 21-082 and just vote on it separately. Okay?
Yeah, so when you call for the roll, yes, when you call for the roll call, it's all except that one, and we'll do that
Got it.
separately after.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve resolution?
Sorry, Mayor, can I have a question
Oh, yes, sorry,
before
Miss-
you go ahead with the
Yes.
motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, the other three projects that we're talking about is just for this year. It's not annually
Right.
done
They are
again and
specific.
again. It's just
Exactly.
75,000 for this year that Ms. Or Allison presented.
Correct.
Is that correct,
Correct.
Alex? Or maybe Mr. McDonald?
That's correct, and I think part of the idea is that you have a professional in which you trust and understand his work and value his work, and these three projects are being put to him to do.
Thank you.
And if I could just ask Alex, in other words, he has to, show us his bills for his hourly, for his work, right? I mean, it's not like he's getting a blanket amount. I mean, he's billing per
Of
hour
course,
for this
yeah.
work,
Yes.
which we got to review.
So it might be more or less than the 25 and the, all right, I'm
Could
just
be.
going to move myself because I don't really have a good grasp on it.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve resolution 21-080 through resolution 21-084, which are listed on the consent agenda, pulling out 21-082.
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll
Ms.
call.
Miggins?
Yes.
Ms. Stahl-Eglo?
Yes.
Mr. Wasserman?
Yes.
Mr. Vinayak?
Yes.
Mayor Prupus?
Yes.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve resolution 21-082?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Miggins?
Yes.
Ms. Stahl-Eglo?
No.
Mr. Wasserman?
Yes.
Mr. Vinayak?
Yes.
Mayor Prupus?
Yes.
Thank you.
Committeewoman Thal-Eglo is second reading of the ordinance.
Sponsor, it's me. I present for consideration an ordinance entitled Ordinance 2569-21. Ordinance adopting a stormwater control ordinance for the Township of Millburn Development Regulations. The purpose of this ordinance is to amend the stormwater control ordinance to be compliant with new standards adopted by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, including modifying the definition of major development, changes to existing definitions, and the addition of new definitions, updating the requirements for major developments, as well as minor amendments to the Freshwater Wetlands Protection Act rules, the Flood Hazard Area Control rules, and the New Jersey Pollutant Discharge Elimination. Tonight is the time set for the public hearing, and final passage is advertised in accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open. I declare the hearing closed.
I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title and pass on final reading in accordance with law.
Can we have a second, please?
Second.
A roll call vote?
Ms. Miggins?
Yes.
Ms. Stahl-Eglo?
Yes.
Mr. Wasserman?
Yes.
Mr. Vinayak?
Yes.
Mayor Prupus?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are talking about forming a sign ordinance subcommittee Mr. McDonald, can you just give us a brief history of our discussions around the sign ordinance and where we're at now?
Sure. So the sign ordinance has, for a while been an area of focus. In 2018 and 19, there were changes made to the sign ordinance to allow for projecting signs, to allow for sandwich boards, things like that, in accordance with the ordinance. However, there was a lot of more work to be done. The ordinance is particularly cumbersome, not user-friendly. It is confusing to potential businesses and those that utilize that sign ordinance. And it has always been the intention to get back to it. We made some very quick changes to it to make sure that we were offering some additional inviting and useful tools to businesses. However, there's more work to be done to make it more user-friendly, maybe illustrative, and provide various elements. Right now, it refers to different areas of the code within the, and it's very confusing. And so it was brought up as a part of sort of looking at a lot of different things that a group should be formed to tackle this particular section of the code.
Great. Do you have that list on you, the group?
Do you want me to list those who are participating?
That
Sure.
would be great.
So at this,
Some of the people, we worked on this a couple of years ago,
Yes.
so we had some people who have already had their hands in this. We have some new people, so.
right. In particular, Jim Weil, who he was instrumental in sort of taking the initial look at this, did a lot of work on it and revisions. Jim wants to be involved again. Ileana Martinovo, she also was a part of the initial group. She's interested in kind of, I would say, finishing out the task. Also interested in being involved are Allison Canfield, Mary McNett, and we are looking to get a business owner as well.
And
to
Dan
be,
Bear has
and Dan
moved,
Bear, of course.
Right.
Yes.
So,
As well as Committeewoman Miggins and Mayor Purpose.
And you and Eileen Davitt.
Yep, it'll be quite the group.
Right. So I would like to see if everyone, the rest of my fellow committee members are in agreement, and then we can, do we have to do a resolution for that, or a subcommittee, or we just name the subcommittee and then we go?
I think you're going to assign yourself and Committeewoman Miggins to work on this particular ordinance, and we'll get a group together to work on it.
Great. Does anybody on the committee have any questions, comments?
Well, I think it's excellent that we keep working on making our ordinances, we keep improving them and lowering barriers for our businesses to succeed. And I understand with the sign ordinances in particular, from what I understand, there are like dozens and dozens of pages of regulation. And so if a business wanted to put up a sign, I mean, it's a minefield. And we want to simplify it and make it easier so our businesses can advertise and do all the good things that, to market themselves.
We're all good?
All good.
Committeeman Vinyayak?
I'm in support of it. Not only the business, we should also look at all the residential zoning as well.
Right, well, we are looking at that in the larger zoning subcommittee, so a lot of looking at zoning ordinances happening. All right.
You have my support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So the next part of old business, next topic is recreational marijuana. And Mr. Falcon, we had tasked you with two questions about whether or not we could opt in after we've opted out, and what the tax, if that was going to end after a certain time. So can you just fill the committee in on what you found in regard to those two questions, please?
Very simply, with respect to the opt-in, opt-out business, as I suspected at the last meeting, and the League of Municipalities has published.
Mr. Falcon, it's hard to hear you.
Yeah, I don't think its mic is on.
Alex, can you help him?
It's on, it's on.
Hello.
No, it's on. It may.
Mr.
How's that?
Woolman, how do we get another one of these?
All right, as
Thank
to
you,
the
Mr. Falcon. I can
opt-in,
hear you now.
opt-out provision of the question, There's nothing in the legislation about that, but as I suspected last time, there's nothing that would prevent you from deciding at a later date if you take advantage of the 180-day of those categories. The League of Municipalities has published a paper in connection with this legislation. They followed it very closely, and they came to the same conclusion in that paper. Now, as to the transfer taxes, I outlined the percentages that were pertaining to each of the various kinds of establishments. Those are ongoing revenue streams. They continue as long as those establishments operate and they have sales or they generate business within those categories. Then the township would be entitled up to, you could have less, but up to, those are caps on the amount of transfer taxes that could be collected. But it's an ongoing revenue stream.
Okay, so I kind of wanted to take a pulse tonight on the committee. I think that we need to figure out how we're going to move this forward. So does anybody want to share their feelings about recreational marijuana in our township? Any of the committee members at this point?
You're all looking at me?
No, I was just, I was looking at Sanjeev, but
Okay, let
if any-
Sanjeev go first.
Absolutely. I've actually discussed this in the past, and I know I got some emails also supporting people for recreational marijuana, but you all know my stand. I worked in this industry, and I was one of those who would go to different towns, different countries, and different states and meet with those politicians and public servants to open up marijuana, only as long as I did not understand completely. Again, I was one of those which said, oh, it's better than cigarette, it's better than alcohol, only to understand the cannabinoids that we have in marijuana. And I was at that time was mainly working for medical marijuana. And there is federally substance 1. If it is brought down from substance 1 to substance 2, then there could be research done that could be federally approved. So far, there is no federally approved research. And if you do as a university, you do any research, you stop getting federal grants. So only universities that do not rely on federal grants can work on this. Every study that we do is very ad hoc. Some people say to the level, they will talk very intelligent. Oh, there is THC, there is CBD, there is, as a natural plant, marijuana has 99.7%. There are thousands and thousands of cannabinoids and terpenes, but it's mainly THC and all along with those cannabinoids. CBD, which is considered to be medically or soothing, that's what, again, this is all ad hoc studies, is 0.3%. In hemp, it is more larger than that. And then Charlotte's Web, where it all started from, they started kind of mingling and came up with a new strain called Charlotte's Web. And in that, they said, oh, CBD content is high. I worked with one of the Stanley brothers who did this and traveled with them extensively, only to realize overall those CBD plant and strain that we talk about is still, I think, about 22% in the whole plant. Now we are talking recreational. Alcohol and cigarettes, when you are having alcohol, you're drinking it, it doesn't hit directly in your bloodstream. When you're smoking it, it goes directly in your bloodstream. From 0 to 100, it could be in a couple of puffs. It depends on what kind of potency you're smoking. In alcohol, when you're drinking, it goes 1 inside, 2 inside. It takes some time to process. So to me, overall, it is very, very addictive, very, very high end. Again, personal thought process based on my experience, and I am against it. Still, I am against it, and that is what my thought process on this is.
Thank you.
Okay,
Do we
so,
want to open a window?
no, I took my jacket off, I'm good. So, I hear what you're saying. However, I believe those were the arguments before Governor Murphy had this referendum put out. So I think all of that is one thing, but it is now legal. And I think to be business-friendly is what we want. I don't think we're here to talk about what you were talking about. I think that there's, when we had someone present to us a couple of years ago, there was a lot of things she talked about that it does increase foot traffic because people come for perhaps to buy their medical marijuana, or now it will be adult use. So they will come to other facilities in the town. They will eat at our restaurants. These are jobs. These people will also then frequent our restaurants, the people who work in whatever facilities we have. It could fill vacancies. I think there's a huge economic benefit from what I'm reading about the tax revenues that are available to the town, that what's special about those tax revenues is that they don't go into the general fund. These can be actually earmarked for something specific. If we want it to be recreation, not recreational marijuana, recreational fields, or something very specific that the town can opt to put this pot of money towards. It encourages, then other businesses will then come and join this. You know, these are jobs, these are opportunities. And I think that as Millburn is trying to change with the times as far as our vision plan and development, which are huge changes, this is one of the changes that society has approved, 7 out of 10 voters in our township. We want to be known as a business-friendly community. Mr. Washman always talks about lowering barriers. So I think we don't want to shut this window, and I think if we are going to write an ordinance with Mr. Falcon, perhaps we can write the ordinance that it has to go through the planning or zoning board. We just had a great presentation by Mr. Robson about Millburn Creative, and a lot of that is based on what Maplewood's doing. And everyone's always pointing to Maplewood, how progressive they are. We want to be like Maplewood, sustainability, environmental, arts. Well, this is something that Maplewood's going to already have a dispensary. Springfield's going to have it. And if we give this away, be it whatever kind of facility we choose, it's not going to come. Millburn's going to shut the window and lose what I think is a really important opportunity. So I think we should not have Mr. Falcon write an ordinance to shut our window, even though you can open it by cracks during the 5 years. I think we should see who approaches us, and we should let them go through zoning, and then the public can come at those meetings and say, we can probably write the ordinance to say what specific locations we do or do not want it in. I think I was reading that in the industrial zones, it's allowed. So if we shut this window, I see it'd be very hard to open it by cracks, and this is an opportunity loss, and it goes kind of against everything. Mr. Vinayak made a huge presentation at our last meeting, what we hear every year from our CFO, and he doesn't want to raise municipal portion of taxes, yet we're spending money on vision plans, possible huge construction and development. We're spending money on the SID. We're spending money now on the HPC, stuff we've never spent on. Why would we close the window to this really important and profitable revenue? So I think what you say, I understand you don't like marijuana. That's absolutely, you're right. But that ship has sailed. It's legal now in New Jersey, and it's going to be legal in more and more states. And Governor Murphy, who we all have met, everyone at this table has met Governor Murphy personally, was on board. And I think most important, the last thing I'll say is let's again remember, in November, out of 10,000 voters, over 7,000 voted for this referendum. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I think we know where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, if you may, please, can I just add 2 more minutes?
Yeah, but I think Deputy Wasserman wants to
Yeah,
speak, so just one second.
I just want to.
Sure, I'll wait.
Thank you.
Sure. You know, I when this came up before in last year, and when it came up for medical marijuana, I voted against it because I was very concerned about the resources of our town, our limited police inspection. There was a host of reasons where I voted against it. This past week, I have been in touch. Committeewoman Miggins and I took a call with a local business person who wanted to express their viewpoint. I know that Mr. Burwell in town, who has has a business in town, has an opinion. My 2 cents really would be to set aside a little time. And again, I'm not. I really think that out of respect for local businesses that may want to express themselves, I would certainly be open to putting an hour, or a half hour, whatever, on the agenda so people that are interested could express themselves. Before we make a decision. I'm not saying for it, against it, or whatever, but because we have businesses that, call Millburn their home, I'd be open to at least putting aside time and saying, okay, you can come and, tell us what you have in mind or how you feel about it, and then I think we should have a vote on it. But because we have businesses in town that, may want to do something, I'd be open to at least hearing them.
Okay. Committeewoman Megan?
Yes, thank you. I did have a question for you, Mr. Falcon. You said that there was a cap on the revenue. Did you say something about there being a cap?
Just on the percentages that are in the.
Okay, but not the.
You could charge a lesser percentage.
You could charge, and there's no cap on how much you could make, as it were.
Well, that would depend on the revenue generated by the enterprise.
Right,
You get
okay.
a percentage of that.
Okay, I got you. Okay, that's all. So for myself personally, I'm 100% against it. I don't think there's a place for it in our town. I feel that if Maplewood wants to indulge or Springfield wants to indulge, then that's their right to do it. I think that I think it doesn't hurt us to wait 5 years. And they say the second mouse gets the cheese, right? So we could see what happens in 5 years. And after 5 years, if we decide that that's something we want to do, I'm sure that we can do it. But my own personal opinion is we didn't allow for medical marijuana, and that was going to be on a very busy street right off the highway. I realize, yes, 7 out of 10 people did vote for passing recreational marijuana, and that's their choice. We don't know why they voted for it. Maybe they voted for it for a social justice issue. Maybe they voted for it, for their own personal use. I don't know. But at this point in time, I personally do not believe that we should be voting on. I think we should absolutely vote against every single one of those things. I'm 100% against marijuana coming into Millburn. Thank you.
Committeeman Vignac?
So I wanted, and rightly said, Committeewoman Eglo rightly said, it's one vote, and I'm just sticking with my vote. If all other people say yes to it, I will graciously accept it. Again, this is just my vote, and I'm going to be clear. I've done enough homework, I've done enough work, and just a couple of things I want to add in here. I'm all for business, but right type of business. Taxes, when we talk about, I'm on the finance committee, and we are not, let me remind you, 2021, we are not raising taxes. The municipal portion of our town, we are not raising taxes. And that I've discussed this and presented it in the last meeting. And as long as, when I presented, I showed one employee in our township cost us $150,000 on an average. And I'm just going to take this one example. If I add one cop per shift, 7 days a week, we need at least 4.5 or 5 cops to just have added one cop a shift. Every cop, if we just take the average, is $150,000, and they are mainly on the higher side of hiring. So we are talking about $750,000 to $100,000 expense just on the cops. Then overall, we are going to put burdens on our resources. So when we talk about taxes, 2% or 5%, if we are able to get $1 million in tax just to add one cop, one shift, that means we are selling a lot of marijuana in our town, which again, it's a counterproductive or counterintuitive when we talk about extra money coming into the pool. New Jersey State, yes, it's broke. We are billions of dollars behind, and just to add in the pension plan. But as a Millburn Township, we're in good health, or at least I feel that way. And we are very conscious and judicious about the money we pay. We have very good residents sitting here as well, who comes and talk about bill list even for $10,000, $12,000, or $7,000. So we are very, very judicious in our spending. When we talk about tax money that we are going to collect, it's nowhere even close to what we're going to spend to just curb these incidents that other states, California, Colorado, and country that kind of takes care of it. So that's my spiel on the taxes and foot traffic and businesses.
I'll just counter to what he said, is that these facilities, be them groweries, dispensaries, warehouses that just, truck it, they have to have, and I've been reading a lot of articles, an incredible amount of security that they have to hire. And this is like, I was reading one article compared it to like bars and convenience stores that have a high moving product and a lot of cash on hand. And these have no more crime than those kind of facilities. And I think these kind of fear tactics, talking, I just think we have to talk in the realm of reality and, not fear. And I think that to give away money when we are so much we want to do to improve Millburn is just counterintuitive to everything, we're hearing, that we want to spend money, we want to do things, and yet we have this potential revenue stream. And I'm just saying, if you close the window, I don't believe that that is what we should be doing. Okay. And maybe we should have a town hall, other than, like Maplewood had a town hall, to invite residents just to talk about that, not at a township committee meeting.
Okay, so here's the thing. Thank you for everybody's comments. This is the second time that we have been talking about it. Recreational marijuana has been on our agenda. This isn't new. We've been talking about it for a couple weeks now, maybe even months. So I actually think that people have had the opportunity to come and talk about it. And I think that it's pretty clear where we stand. So I'll just share where I stand. I agree with Committee Woman Miggins that, there is no place for this in our town. What we went through last year with the medical marijuana, it was, tons of people came out. We had this discussion. I believe that all of those people feel the same way. I've had some, communications with different residents. So I feel comfortable, and it seems like we have a consensus to have KIT write an ordinance to prohibit in all categories, and we'll have a first reading of that. And then we will, people will come and people will be notified. But I think it's time to move this forward. I think I know not everyone's going to agree, but I think we're all have a clear position. And I do think that people have been given the opportunity to come and talk about it. We're not hiding anything. It's been on our agenda. So that being said, yes.
But certainly when Mr. Falcon writes the resolution, people can come.
Of course.
People can come out and speak about it.
Exactly.
Okay, that's,
and
I just
an
want to make sure people can
an ordinance
speak
will
up.
be noted, just
Right.
like every other ordinance. It will be publicly noted,
Right.
and we will have a public hearing.
Yeah. Okay.
And, we will go down that path.
Right.
Suggest to take a vote.
Oh, well, we can take a vote, but I feel like we did take, everyone stated, but we will take a clear, you want me to take a clear vote? Okay, Mr. Vinyayak,
Yes,
This is,
I want to get the ordinance.
okay. Right, he said yes, to authorize KIT to prepare an ordinance to prohibit
On all counts.
all categories of recreational marijuana in our township. Committeewoman Eglo,
Clearly, no. I think
okay?
it's pushing it too fast, and I just think it's the wrong
Okay.
decision. Okay.
Committeewoman Miggins,
Yes, please do that.
Deputy Mayor Wasserman.
Yes, I'm in favor of it.
Okay, and I'm in favor too, so that is said, okay? Speed limit, onto new business, speed limit reduction from Wyoming to Maplewood border. Mr. McDonald, can you please explain to us what this is all about?
Sure, Mayor. We have successfully changed the speed limit from Morris Turnpike all the way to Wyoming of Millburn Avenue to 25 miles an hour. At one point, it was 35 in that entire stretch. However, the stretch from Wyoming Avenue to the Maplewood border has not been changed, and this would be to advance an ordinance to make that change and make Millburn Avenue consistent from Morris Turnpike to the border of Maplewood at 25 miles an hour.
Sorry, can you guys, yeah? Okay, there we go. Ghosts.
So we'd just be looking, again, for just a consensus from the committee to proceed with that, writing that ordinance.
Does that Essex County have to?
Yeah, so they have to then be given the ordinance to then they want to see the support from the municipality. They'll then do their bit of it and then make the change if they approve it.
I still also think when school gets back in session, hopefully in September, that crossing guard on Wyoming Avenue gets a blinking stop sign, because I think that she's in a really dangerous position.
The one at Cypress.
Correct.
Okay.
I wouldn't stand there if I was in the middle of the road. Give her credit.
Okay. Is there consensus with the committee to move that speed limit reduction forward?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we've actually been talking about this for quite a while, and I think this was gonna make our township a little safer. So I'm in favor of it.
Okay. Great. We are now on to public. Does any other committee member have any items of new business they would like to address?
I can say one thing. It's sort of new business and sort of old that a year or two ago when Mr. McDonald started a protocol in town if a neighboring area would like to see something done in their neighborhood. And there's an issue going on South Mountain School by Ridgewood and Ivy, which is heading towards the school. And I'd like to know, so this one neighbor went through the protocol, got many signatures, and then what is a time frame? Another person did this. What is a realistic time frame for someone to expect to hear from Town Hall in resolution to this a problem that they bring to your attention?
Sure. Something like this could take anywhere from 2 to 4 months, depending on what the issue may be. Oftentimes, residents will suggest a particular solution. However, it is our job to, vet that there is interest and again, consensus from a particular community that something needs to be or wants to be done in that area. Then it is then further our job, to vet that through through the engineering office or the township's traffic engineer to decide what that solution may be. And oftentimes, again, that may be the solution that's suggested. It may not be. However, these things can take time. In particular, as things are being reviewed, discussed with the engineers, discussed with the homeowners or the property owners in the area. But one of the things that we don't want to do is rush into a particular decision when I'm thankful to those residents that have gone through that process, because it is important, because you don't want somebody to just come up to us and say, hey, we want you to put in a stop sign or any other particular device and then we go, oh, okay, great, we'll do that. And then that one person is happy and 17 others are not. But yeah, these things can take time. So short answer is anywhere between 2 to 4 months.
Okay, so all I'm going to ask, when this comes to your attention, if the resident could at least receive confirmation that their petition has been received, it's being looked at, and give them an up-to-date. So because I have gotten emails, this was situations in the past, I haven't heard. So they're doing their part. You set up this very stringent protocol, and then it just kind of like floats, and it's not fair.
Absolutely, committee will.
Okay.
And could I just piggyback on one thing? Committeeman Vinayak and I have been working with the residents on Troy, and I just want to throw it out there, thank Mr. McDonald and our engineers that we're gonna, that there is a safety issue, and we're gonna get to the bottom of it. We're gonna fix that problem. It's going on a long time, and I just want to assure our neighbors that we're gonna take care of it. I know it's taking a long time also, but it's if there's a safety issue, we have to get to the bottom of these things.
And you just have to respond. The resident does their part. For them not to be given any kind of communication is just not appropriate.
We, as a township, we are responsible to make sure our town is safe. And to all people who are working in here, I get actually a lot of compliments from our residents that township is doing great. We generally hear from people who are upset, but There are people who are content. We don't hear from them all the time. But I've heard from a lot of residents that township is also doing great. That said, that doesn't mean we are not responsible. Anything that happens in the township, like the Troy Drive we are talking about, it's been there for years. It is our responsibility to get that cleared up. 2 to 4 months is not even the timeline we're talking about. We're talking about years. So we are going to do, or we should be doing everything possible to make sure our residents feel safe and they feel good about our town.
Okay, it is now time for public portion of the meeting. So please respect the time limit and respect all of us in the room and here, and let's be kind to each other and nice to each other. Does anyone want to make a public comment?
Again, my name is Jeffrey Feld. I don't know where to begin. We heard earlier this evening about the fair share housing litigation, the immunity being extended to the end of April. After the last meeting, something that I've never ever seen occurred. I'm not involved in that case. But the attorneys who were representing the Woodmont developer wrote 2 letters to the court accusing Millburn of acting in bad faith. That was not me. That's some other attorneys. At the last meeting, the municipal attorney, with the consent of this mayor, said and told the public that the local finance board complaint against the mayor was dismissed on the merits with prejudice. I was shocked. I had never seen the piece of paper. I immediately contacted the local finance board, and at the end of the week, I received a letter from the local finance board contradicting what was said to the public. This is very scary. I'm an attorney. I have a duty to the court. I'm an officer of the court. This is the public. I've been told that public officials will not speak to me. I'm a citizen. There are questions that need to be answered. There's a very serious issue. In the last 2 days, I didn't put in my memo, big cases came out. The United States Supreme Court issued an opinion yesterday talking about protecting the political free speech of people, that they will get nominal damages. Today, a published opinion came out about initiatives regarding Ridgewood, where the municipal clerk is responsible for about $10,000 in attorney's fees. I think there's going to be a movement in this community for an initiative that we convert our elections from a partisan elections to nonpartisan elections. And that's something that we have to look into. I urge you to read the opinion that came out today. It's a published opinion. Because some of the questions that I've been asking the clerk, I've been refused getting answers. But when you read that opinion, the appellate division spanked that municipal court clerk for not responding. There are serious issues here. I think Mr. Ryan, the executive director, there's more to that issue. Please start listening to me. I gave you my memo of my history. There are some serious issues about what's going on. It's not just me that's raising issues about conflicts. There are other law firms who are going down different lanes raising different issues. Mr. Cosgrove as to Chatham Road. I'm not involved in it, but he's come to the same conclusion that I have. Please be careful.
Thank you, Mr. Feld. Is there anyone else that would like to come make a public comment? This thing always falls. Good evening, Perry Urso, 514 Millburn Avenue in Short Hills. I believe it could not be just theory, but since there has been much opposition regarding the Special Improvement District ordinance, I have noticed that the local TV station has gone dark. Am I wrong? I then researched the local TV stations in Millburn, and I was directed to the Connect with Millburn Township page on the website, which confirmed that there was no present broadcasting when searched on the TV. Thursday, March 4th, 2021, I contacted HTTV, who was hired by Millburn to air current events, news, important meetings, and more for years. To my surprise, once again, correct me if I'm wrong, Millburn severed its relationship with HTTV. I was informed that the decision to terminate this service was voted at the committee. However, there was no resolution found.
Was this decision made in bad faith? I was also directed to the fcc.gov, cctv.org, and my cable Comcast provider. I was also informed that there was no negotiations posed, no other options to entertain, such as live streaming, to coincide with our live meetings. Additionally, I was told that on several occasions, Millburn was advised that there was making a big mistake, and also the consultant was taking it upon himself to post these meetings. Friday, March 5th, 2021, at 10:50 a.m., I emailed questions to the Millburn Township Clerk, the BA, Municipal Attorney, and the current 5 TC members, seeking answers to my questions. At 11:59, and once again at 5:19, I heard from 2 out of the 8 I emailed, and I thank you graciously for taking the time. Coincidentally, over the weekend, Channel 35 airs what's called a bulletin board, antiquated information slideshow, including September update stating that restaurant capacity is at 25%. Well, currently, we are at 35% as of February 2021, with no vaccine information. Monday, March 8th, 2021, I was informed that the consultant had been schooling Millburn Municipal Representative called Jess on how to navigate the programming procedure meeting. That meeting lasted 1 hour. Monday, March 8th, 2021, I researched the franchise fees within the municipal budget. Came across in 2018 an item listed $313 and $294, and not sure where I can find the number for 2020. However, I did come across a $7,800 franchise fees. Tuesday, March 9th, I received a vendor report making payments to HTTV from 2019 to December 2020 for $30,000. Was this any part of this payment of the franchise fees, and how much? So what I don't know, I raised my questions. What do I know? I'm just a waitress at a local Italian restaurant. Thank you for your evening.
Thank you, Ms. Urso. Should we take some public?
Hi, Jean Pasternak, 342 Hobart. I want to congratulate you on this discussion on marijuana. I think you did a very good job of letting us all know your positions and respectfully talking with each other, and that helps to create a good atmosphere in the room, and I appreciate it. I also want to note that Mr. Doty diligently followed up with me. Thank you, Alex. I had a trip and fall incident, and I know safety issues were discussed, and I thought it was really good that he reached out and would help to make sure that doesn't happen to somebody else. The other questions I have really have to do with why was Resolution 21085 on the SID budget pulled from the agenda? I wondered why that wasn't even commented on. I had a lot of comments about it, but I can hold them for the next meeting, but I feel that we should understand why that was pulled. And I also wanted to ask, do we actually have an $18 million surplus in the township coffers? I'm not clear from reading the financial statement whether that exists or not. I attended the Downtown Vision Plan workshops and presentation. I would have to say I was a little disappointed, even though there seemed to be a lot of people. It really was a small representation of our community. I hope that there will be more effort to get more people involved. This is a big change for our community, the ideas that are being presented. One big thing that's missing is a cost-benefit analysis on any of the proposals, and I think that's disingenuous to present things like that to the community, get people all excited, and then find out that it's going to cost too much to do. I think we need some cost attached to some of these ideas right away. The other thing that I would like to say is about transparency and conflicts of interest. It's really important that we do not have the appearance or actual conflicts. Integrity and trust is based on people feeling that they're not being screwed around with, and we do hope that you're taking our comments seriously about the various conflicts, whether that's Mr. Buzak, our municipal attorney, to do with the mayor or Ms. Miggins. I really feel that we're trying to be honest with you, that we feel uncomfortable, and I think we're not the only ones that feel that way in the community, and we just like to take those things to be taken seriously. As far as I appreciate, having a meeting that's been requested by you, Mayor, but I do want to make sure that I'm not being treated differently than other people that come and meet with you, asking me for a list of questions, who I intend to bring with me. I want to be treated the same as you do with everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pasternak. Should we start taking some calls? Okay.
Nancy Stone, 10 Fielding Road, and 266 Essex Street with Nancy and David Fine Jewels. First of all, I want to applaud Sanjeev for taking the lead on being as vocal as he was on the marijuana issue. We can't always agree with everyone, but on this particular issue, I was adamantly opposed to having this in Millburn. If people, as I said, wanted to go elsewhere, they can certainly have that choice to do so, but I would hate for Millburn to be known for this type of business in our community. And Maggie, I also applaud you for siding with Sanjeev on this, and Tara as well to take the lead in putting the ordinance in effect against it. Diane, in spite of what the governor has chosen, he is up for re-election, and hopefully we will have a new governor in November. With that said, the SID director resigning, I think, is a really big deal and a step in the right direction for dissolving this SID. I hope that somebody takes the lead in squashing this for whatever reason. I don't understand why the business community is getting such opposition to this. Nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted the tax. I also want to address this, the conflicts of interest that Kit had mentioned, that it was dismissed and it was not dismissed. And I can only share with you that that was deceiving, as I do believe that 25,000, 50,000, and now 25,000 was deceiving, because I was very supportive of the 25,000. Then it became an extra 50,000 because we were getting the bond back. And Alex tippy-toed around the fact, are we getting the money back or we're not getting the money back? I think, Alex, you need to be very specific and very clear when you're talking to the community, the taxpayers of this community, that we are going to be getting the money back if we commit to this 75,000. And how the hell did we get to the 125? So I'm very disappointed in that. Cannot see how much time I have left, but I also want to talk about 237 days until you're out, Tara. I understand you're looking to rerun again. I hope that's not the case. And if you are, be challenged, because you are going to be called out on every single thing you've not done to help this community and to move this community forward, other than putting us in more financial strains and spending money that you did not pay into or even earn. So with that said, I would like to know why the SID budget was put on hold.
Thank
Was
you,
it
Ms. Stone. Who do we have next?
because of him? Where are you?
Thank you. Good evening. Sarah Sherman, South Mountain Civic Association. I would like to thank Fire Chief Echeverria and the fire department for the prompt response to the concerns of residents, not just in our neighborhood, but we realized that the odor was extended over a greater area than we initially thought. We are pleased with the manner in which it was addressed. Today, the chief said that there is a plan in place if the odor recurs. Fortunately, we've not smelled anything since last Wednesday, but I'm very happy with the way that this was handled. Mayor Prupis referred to the fact that we are waiting for a confirmation letter from the county executive regarding the consensus plan for flood mitigation in the Rahway River. Hope to receive that soon. Also want to thank Mr. McDonald and Mayor Prupis for their participation in the last mayor's meeting. I think that Mayor Prupus also brought to the table some people who had not been involved in the discussion before, and I'm happy to say that it was a very productive one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Dominique Urso, 514 Millburn Avenue. I just want to add one comment that my mom had forgotten about her public comment about the local TV. The lack of use of local TV station is an injustice to the community who are being charged the full amount of their monthly bills. Is this theft of tax and perhaps even discrimination towards seniors and others who do not have internet access via computer? My public comments, I would like to bring up a few concerns I was thinking about and reviewing on past YouTube videos of these meetings. I would like to reiterate previous comments my mother had made during the February 19th, 2021 meeting and February 23rd, 2021 meeting. The first concern is the validity of the Special Improvement District. As well, there was continuous mention and questioning if Millburn is subjecting stakeholders to a lawsuit presented due to the hiring of Executive Director Ryan Gleason. It has been verified that Ryan submitted his letter of resignation and has been stated tonight. Because of his resignation, would this subject a lawsuit against the stakeholders of this town? And also, was he hired under false pretenses? Speaking of the speed limits and speed signs as discussed previously, I would like to request a speed bump put back in Lot 14 and Jarvis Lane. This was previously arranged by Business Administrator Mr. Gordon, and I would like to see this followed through, as personally I was probably almost hit by a car 1,000 times walking in that back parking lot. People use it as a cut through and it's very dangerous, and many people with children go in and out of from businesses and park there, and it's very dangerous. And my last comment, I would like to comment on Mr. Wasserman's opening statements this meeting on the NJ.com article written by Samantha Marcus that talked about the highest taxes in New Jersey, going from 30 states to the number one town, and Millburn being at number 1. So I just feel like we need to stop fudging information to cover up. And I feel like that was done because I actually brought that article up during public comment last week. And if you feel I embarrass you about the raising of our taxes, it's true. So that needs being stop altering information and doing a backtrack cover up and trying to discredit townspeople like me who are trying to say the truth of what you're hiding. So that needs to stop.
Thank you for your comment. Okay. Mr. Boyko just raised his hand.
Okay, hopefully unmuted now. Again, I want to thank the members of the Township Committee for voluntarily, it seems, taking on this thankless task of trying to improve the lot of our township here and make it a better place for everyone who lives here now and who may yet move here and have to endure seeming ad hominem attacks for no particularly good reason and keep going. So kudos to you all for doing that. That being said, though, I must express my dismay with the vote on making the town available to host a marijuana-based business. Considering we need the money for this town and to help revitalize it, it's certainly disappointing that you choose to turn away a business when we certainly have liquor stores in town and we have caffeine stores in town. And it's just another reason for people to take their business elsewhere. So a bit disappointing, but we can all reasonably disagree on how to move the town forward. So thank you for your efforts nonetheless.
Thank you, Mr. Boyko. All right, I will now close public comment. Would any of our committee members or professionals like to respond to anything that was brought up during public comment?
You still have another comment? Sorry.
Sorry, Marilee. I'm opening up public comment.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, Marilee Reesbeck, 91 Whittingham Terrace. I just want to say that I was so pleased to read the article that Deputy Mayor Wasserman spoke of, the article in NewJersey.com that highlighted the 30 towns in New Jersey with the biggest decrease in taxes. Millburn is one of only 2 towns in Essex County on that list, the other being Livingston, and we're number 11 overall. I'd like to commend our township committee members and the township administrator for managing our budget and expenses so well, especially in these difficult times when many of our neighboring towns will have to increase taxes to cover budget shortfalls. I'm also very encouraged by the efforts to introduce KPIs to ensure that the effectiveness of our township governance can be measured and evaluated. Thank you so much for that. I would also like to express my concern about the continued personal attacks on the mayor and statements implying that she doesn't pay taxes. This notion has already been dispelled. Enough is enough. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to close public comment now and open it up to any of the committee members or the professionals if you'd like to respond to anything that was raised during public comment.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, Mr. Committeeman Vinyayak.
So I guess it's never bad to reiterate. There was something that came up on the taxes in my presentation earlier, and again, I want to bring it up. In New Jersey State, on an average tax per home, we are number 2. That's correct. In Essex County, we are number 1. That is also correct. But that is not just the number. Our houses are good. Our houses are valued more. So we have more tax. Tax rate in the state of New Jersey. So we have 566 towns in the state of New Jersey. Millburn is at 486th number on the tax rate. In Essex County, we have 22 towns. Millburn is the lowest on the tax rate. It's the 22nd. So please remember these numbers when you think we are the biggest taxpayer. We are tax rate wise not even in the center. We are on the lower of the list. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask Mr. McDonald, do we still pay HCTV and do we pay franchising? I have no idea what that 30,000, I have no idea what Ms. Urso was talking about. If you could clear that up for us.
That was one of the items I was going to address.
Okay, well,
And
So,
while you're
happy-
clearing that up, just because I'm new to the committee, would you be good enough to tell me who was responsible for getting rid of HGTV? Who exactly was the mayor then?
HTTV? Yeah, the
whatever it is.
hometown?
Yeah, who was the mayor and wanted this done? Or who prompted it?
That would be me.
Diane. So Committeewoman Eglo is the woman who wanted us to take that away?
No. I'd like to clarify because this is an operational thing. This is not a.
Not
all right?
personal.
Yeah. So the hometown TV has provided service to us to manage a bulletin board in which the township's channels, which are channel 35 on Comcast and channel 47 on Verizon, were managed through a bulletin board system. We used cable franchise fees to buy TelView, which is a system that allows us to program that television station. However, we were spending approximately $1,000 to anywhere between $1,000 and $1,500 a month to have that station managed. We are in the process of bringing that internal to manage that more effectively and efficiently. So within the township, so that we are not spending anywhere in the ballpark of $12,000 to $15,000 a year to manage a bulletin board system on a system in which many people do not watch. While it is a necessity and does need to be done, I don't think it is an effective tool to utilize, informing our public. We do have live stream through YouTube, which was brought up in the conversation. We do have social media, the website, and yes, we do need to have this outlet as well. However, this is an operational thing that this particular function is being brought internal.
So do we spend $30,000 a year on something?
No, she said 2019 to 2020, so that's $30,000 total. If you average it out, it's $15,000 a year.
2 years. But having a YouTube channel is free, correct?
That's correct.
And this streaming only got a little more expensive because we're Zooming versus having the YouTube channel.
Correct, and we do pay for Zoom so that we can have certain security features and different capabilities within Zoom.
Right. So when things go back to normal, we'll just go back to YouTube, or do you think this is the new normal, not having people come in?
It's not a necessity for us to broadcast our meetings on the television station. However, we will be going back to that. We have the ability to do that. We have the stations. We're just, again, we are transitioning into an internal system to internally managing that TV station.
And just noted, I love Jess. I think she's doing a fabulous job since she came on, what was like the beginning of last year?
Yeah, she almost 2 years now.
Almost 2 years,
Yeah.
and really, our social media, I think, is super informative.
Right.
That said, Alex, I think you're doing a great job too, so.
Thanks, Terry.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate that.
Mayor,
Mr.
Mayor,
Falcon has something.
oh, sorry.
Mr. Falcon.
Mr. Falcon, do you want to? I just want to say that all of the committee, all of my colleagues, all my committee members know that we're going to discuss the SID budget at a future meeting, and we because of current events, we wanted to make sure everybody was informed, but that budget will come up in the next meeting or two, and everybody will be informed, and everybody can join the conversation. I also want to thank the Explore Millburn board for working so hard, because I see how hard they're working. They're meeting like every week for the benefit of the township. I just want to say that.
Any other? So we're good? All right, so, Mr. Falcon, yes.
Briefly, Mayor. I feel compelled to respond to the description that Mr. Feld gave as to what I said at the last meeting. I believe he just reported to you that I said the complaint was dismissed on the merits with prejudice. I said no such thing. I reported distinctly and only what I had been advised by an official at the local finance board, that on February 11, I learned that at its public meeting, the board denied the request for reconsideration and that they would be issuing the basis at a later date. I said the motion had been denied. They call it a request, had been denied. I went on to say that as a result of the previous dismissal several months ago of the complaint that had been filed, that there remained nothing before the LFB. There was no case currently before the LFB concerning that matter. So what I said is on the record, it's recorded, it's televised. I'd be happy to have anyone take a look at that who would care to do so, but I most certainly did not say that the complaint on the merits was dismissed with prejudice. I said nothing about with prejudice or without prejudice. I had no information at that time which would even allow me to make a statement of that sort. Thank you.
Understood, Mr. Falcon. Thank you for that clarification. So during my office hours last week, I had a meeting with an active resident on our community. He's paying attention to what we were discussing at our township committee meetings. He reminded me of the following quote by Theodore Roosevelt, who on April 23rd in 1910 gave what would become one of the most widely quoted speeches of his career. And I first became aware of this quote through Brene Brown when I read her book a few years ago called Daring Greatly. In light of International Women's Day yesterday, I wanted to share her mantra as well, which resonates greatly with me. Strong back, soft front, wild heart, just be you. And on to Theodore Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails, while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Good night, Millburn Township.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night in India.
I think it's good morning.
So Alex, question. So because you weren't kind enough to get back to me.